The moment I realized I couldn't access a single dollar of my own money, my hands started shaking. Not because I'd done something wrong, but because someone else had, and I was the one being punished for it. They thought I was powerless. They thought I'd just wait. They were wrong. If you've ever been ignored, disrespected, or treated like you don't matter by a system that's supposed to protect you, then stay with me. And before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and settle in. Because this isn't just a revenge story. This is about taking power back. I never thought I'd be telling this story. I've always been cautious with money. Maybe too cautious. I grew up watching adults whisper about bills at the dinner table, seeing stress wrinkle faces long before age should have allowed it. So when I finally started earning, I didn't chase flashy banks or big-name corporations. I wanted something safe. Something local. That's how I ended up trusting a small credit union. It was the kind of place that bragged about knowing your name. A single-story building with faded posters about community values taped to the windows. The staff smiled, or at least pretended to. It felt harmless. Human. That illusion shattered the day my card stopped working. I remember it clearly, because nothing about that day felt dramatic at first. It was painfully ordinary. I needed cash for rent-related expenses, nothing extravagant. I slid my card into the ATM outside the branch. Declined. I frowned. Tried again. Declined. A ripple of unease crept up my spine, but I told myself it was a machine error. I walked inside. The branch smelled like old carpet and cheap air freshener. A bell chimed as I entered. A clerk, mid-30s, bored eyes, forced smile, looked up. "My card isn't working," I said. "I have money in my account." She tapped at her keyboard, chewing gum loudly. "Yeah, looks like the ATM's acting up," she said. "But we can still get you your cash." She printed a slip of paper and slid it across the counter. "Use this code. It'll deduct directly from your account." I hesitated. "This is normal?" I asked. She shrugged. "We do it all the time." That was the moment. The moment I trusted them. I used the code. Got my money. Left without another thought. For a few days, life continued like normal. Then came the silence. I logged into my banking app one morning, habit more than need, and my balance wouldn't load. The screen just spun. When it finally refreshed, my stomach dropped. Account under review. Funds temporarily unavailable. I blinked. Refreshed again. Same message. I called customer support immediately. After 20 minutes of hold music, the kind that drills into your skull, a representative picked up. "What's the issue?" she asked, flat and tired. "My account says it's under review. All my funds are locked." A pause. Keyboard clicks. "Oh," she said. "Yeah." There was an accounting delay. Internal error. "So, when will it be fixed?" Another pause. Longer this time. Could be a while. "A while," I repeated. "I need access to my money." "Well," she said, voice sharpening slightly, "these things take time." I felt heat rise to my face. "This was your mistake," I said carefully. "I didn't overdraft. I didn't do anything wrong." Silence. Then a laugh. A small one. Dismissive. "We'll let you know," she said, and hung up. That was the first night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. The casual cruelty of it. The way she'd laughed. The way the word temporary suddenly felt meaningless. Rent. Groceries. Bills. Everything ran through my head like a countdown clock. The next day, I called again. And again. And again. Each time, the responses grew colder. One agent sighed loudly before speaking. Another told me I should have been more careful. One, and this one stuck with me, paused after asking my name. "Is that foreign?" he asked. I didn't answer. "Well," he continued, "sometimes accounts like yours get extra scrutiny." I hung up with my hands shaking. That's when it stopped being just about money. It was about respect. And they had none for me. Mini cliffhanger. I still believed, foolishly, that if I kept calling, someone would help. I had no idea this was only the beginning. Days turned into a week. A week turned into 2. Every morning started the same way. I'd wake up, heart already racing, grab my phone, and open the banking app like maybe, just maybe, reality had corrected itself overnight. It never had. Account under review. Funds temporarily unavailable. Those words became a kind of psychological torture. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just constant. Like water dripping on stone. I started rationing everything. Groceries became calculations. I stood in store aisles doing math in my head, comparing prices down to the last cent, knowing I couldn't even access the money I technically owned. I borrowed cash from a friend once, lied about why, and the shame of it burned worse than hunger. Calling the bank became part of my daily routine. Like a second job I hated but couldn't quit. Hold music. Different voice. Same outcome. One agent told me, "It's with compliance." Another said, "These things happen." Another suggested I open an account somewhere else, as if I could magically transfer money I couldn't touch. The worst part wasn't even the waiting. It was the tone. The way they spoke to me like I was an inconvenience. Like I'd caused this. Like I was lucky they were even answering the phone. One afternoon, after being on hold for nearly 40 minutes, a woman finally picked up. Her voice was sharp, impatient from the first syllable. "I've been calling for weeks," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can you please tell me exactly what's going on?"
She sighed, loudly.
"Sir," she said, "these reviews don't have a timeline. So my money can just be locked indefinitely?" Well, if that's how it goes. Something snapped in my chest. "You realize I can't pay rent," I said. "I can't live like this." There was a pause. Then she said it. "You should have thought of that before using unusual withdrawal methods." I froze. "That was your clerk's suggestion," I said. "In your branch." Another pause. Then, colder than before. "That's not our problem." I hung up and just sat there, staring at the wall, feeling something heavy settle inside me. It wasn't panic anymore. It was rage. A quiet, controlled rage, the kind that simmers, not explodes. By the third week, the stress started manifesting physically. Tight shoulders. Headaches that wouldn't go away. My jaw hurt from clenching it all day. I caught myself rehearsing arguments with imaginary bank employees while brushing my teeth. I felt small, powerless, and worse, invisible. That's when I called my family back home. It was late where they were, early evening for me. I almost didn't bring it up. I didn't want to sound weak. But the words spilled out anyway, the locked funds, the dismissive agents, the comment about my name. There was silence on the other end of a line. Then, my aunt clicked her tongue in anger. My mother asked softly, "They still haven't fixed it?" And my cousin, younger than me, always glued to his phone, always amused by internet chaos, laughed. Not at me, at the situation. "Why are you letting them breathe so comfortably?" he asked. "What do you mean?" I said. "You're calling them," he said. "That's boring. That's private. They don't care." I frowned. "So, what do I do? Sue them? I can't even afford that." He paused, then said something that changed everything. "Make it public." I leaned back in my chair. "They have social media, right?" "Yeah, probably." "Then, that's where you talk to them." I hesitated. Complaining online doesn't do anything. My cousin chuckled. "Complaining alone doesn't," he said. "But complaining loudly? Repeatedly? From everywhere." I felt a spark of curiosity cut through the fog of exhaustion. "There are services," he continued, lowering his voice like he was sharing a secret. "You pay a little. People post whatever you want. Comments. Reviews.
Tweets.
Facebook. Everywhere." I blinked. "That sounds illegal." "It's just posting," he said.
No hacking. No threats.
Just words. I didn't answer right away. Part of me felt wrong even considering it. I'd spent my whole life playing by rules that apparently didn't protect me at all. But another part, the part that remembered the laugh on that support agent's voice, felt something close to excitement. "How much?" I asked. He laughed again. "Less than you think." That night I didn't sleep, but not from anxiety. From anticipation. Mini cliffhanger. For the first time in weeks, I felt something shift. If they wouldn't hear me privately, maybe they'd listen when everyone else was watching. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calm. Not relief. Not hope.
Clarity.
I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and stared at the credit union's website. Smiling stock photos. Words like trust, community, we care. I almost laughed. They didn't care when I was calling quietly. So I stopped being quiet. My cousin sent me a link. The website looked basic. No flashy design. No drama. Just a list of services and a balance meter. At the top, a simple sentence. Pay per post. Any platform. Any message. I scrolled. Facebook comments. Twitter replies. Google reviews. Instagram posts. Each one had a price next to it.
And it was absurdly cheap.
1 ruble per post. About 1 cent. I leaned back in my chair, heart thudding a little faster. This wasn't a mob. This wasn't hacking. This was amplification. The site even had filters.
Profile type.
American. European. Other locales.
Tone.
Angry. Confused. Disappointed. Warning others. I swallowed. For weeks, the bank had controlled the narrative. They'd reduced me to a ticket number, a file marked under review. They could ignore my voice because it was just one. But what if it wasn't? I opened a blank document, and I started writing. Not lies. Not threats. Just the truth, reshaped, repeated, echoed. Bank froze my account for weeks over their own error. Support staff rude and dismissive. Funds inaccessible, 0 timeline, 0 empathy. Beware, this could happen to you. I fed the system variations.
Dozens of them.
Then hundreds. I used AI prompts to rewrite the same core complaint in different voices: a concerned parent, a small business owner, a college student. Each one sounded real. Each one sounded frustrated. Because they were. I paused for a moment, finger hovering over the payment button. $3. That was it. $3 to make myself heard. I thought about the agent who laughed. The comment about my name. The nights staring at the ceiling. And I clicked pay. Nothing dramatic happened at first.
No explosión. No alert.
Just a confirmation message. Campaign active. I refreshed the credit union's Facebook page. 1 new comment. Then another. Then 3 more. I watched as notifications stacked up in real time. Anyone else having their funds locked? This bank ruined my trust. Customer service treats you like garbage. Warning. Avoid this credit union. My pulse quickened. I checked Twitter. Replies were flooding every recent post they'd made. Cheerful marketing tweets drowned under waves of complaints. Google reviews dropped from polite 4 stars to angry 1 stars in minutes. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't chaos. It was pressure. And pressure doesn't scream. It squeezes. Within an hour, the bank's social media pages looked like a disaster zone. Every attempt they made to post something positive was immediately buried. Every reply they tried to make only attracted more attention. I imagined the scene inside their office. A junior marketing employee frowning at their screen. A manager leaning over their shoulder. Phones ringing. Emails firing off. Panic creeping in. Because unlike my calls, this was visible.
Public. Permanent.
I didn't celebrate.
Not yet.
I waited. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for a second before answering. Hello. Good afternoon, a calm voice said. Older. Professional. This is the call center manager from your credit union. My stomach flipped. We've become aware of your situation, he continued. And we want to apologize. Apologize. The word felt surreal. We understand your frustration, he said carefully. There were delays. And mistakes on our end. I said nothing. We'd like to resolve this immediately, he went on. If you'd prefer to close your account, we can initiate a full transfer of your balance to another bank of your choosing. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. And, he added, we'd like to include a $50 goodwill compensation.
Goodwill.
I almost laughed. So suddenly it's possible? I asked. A pause. Yes, he said. It is. We both knew why. He cleared his throat. We hope we can end this on a positive note, he said. There's no need for lingering negativity. There it was. The unspoken request. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. I'll send you my new bank details, I said. When the call ended, I sat in silence. Relief washed over me slowly, like warmth returning to numb fingers. They'd listened, not because I begged, because I made ignoring me expensive. Mini cliffhanger. But as my funds unlocked and transferred, one thing remained. The noise I'd unleashed wasn't something I could take back. The transfer hit my new account 2 days later. I remember staring at the number on my screen longer than I probably should have. My balance. Whole again. Untouched. Plus the extra $50 sitting there like an apology that arrived far too late. I didn't feel joy right away. I felt heavy. Like I'd just finished carrying something massive and only then realized how much it had been weighing on me. I went for a walk that evening.
No headphones.
Just the sound of my shoes on pavement, the city humming around me. For the first time in over a month, I wasn't calculating. I wasn't rehearsing arguments. I wasn't bracing myself for another dismissive voice. I was free, but the internet was not. Out of curiosity, and maybe something darker, I checked the credit union's pages again. They were still burning. New comments every minute. Profiles I'd never seen. Stories piling up. Some real. Some echoes of mine. All of them painting the same picture. A bank that didn't care until it was publicly shamed. They tried damage control. Posts were deleted. Comments disabled. Then re-enabled. Then disabled again. A carefully worded apology went up, only to be ratioed into oblivion within minutes. The irony wasn't lost on me. For weeks, I'd been invisible. Now, they couldn't escape the spotlight. A strange thought crossed my mind. They have no idea it was me.
No proof.
No link. Just timing and coincidence. The call center manager had been careful with his words. Polite. Professional. Almost nervous. He'd understood something important. This wasn't about policy anymore. It was about reputation. And reputation bleeds. I felt a flicker of guilt. Just a flicker. Then I remembered the laugh. The comment about my name. The sleepless nights.
And the guilt faded.
I told my cousin what happened. He laughed so hard I had to pull the phone away from my ear.
Told you, he said.
They only listen when it costs them. Can I stop it? I asked. The posts.
He paused.
Not really, he said. That's the funny part. Once released, it had its own momentum. People who'd never used the service were joining in now. Real customers piling on. The bots had only lit the match. I didn't add anything else. I didn't need to. Days passed. Then weeks. The credit union's online presence never fully recovered. Even months later, if you searched their name, the first thing you'd see wasn't their slogan. It was complaints, warnings, screenshots. I moved on. New bank. New routine. Same careful habits, but sharper now. Less trusting. More aware. Sometimes, late at night, I think about how close I came to just accepting it. To telling myself, this is how things are. To believing I deserved the way they treated me. That's the real danger. Not losing money. Losing your sense of worth. They locked my funds because of their mistake. I unlocked something else entirely. Power doesn't always look like strength. Sometimes it looks like silence. Like bureaucracy. Like a hold queue that never ends. And sometimes, the only way to fight it isn't louder words, but more of them. I didn't break the law. I didn't threaten anyone.
I didn't lie.
I just made sure the truth was impossible to ignore. Justice doesn't always come from courts or policies. Sometimes, it comes from pressure. If you've ever been dismissed, ignored, or treated like you didn't matter, remember this story. You're not powerless. And institutions count on you believing that you are. If this story hit you, leave a comment. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And as always, stay aware, stay sharp, And never underestimate the power of being heard.